Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hai Shir, hey Al, how are you?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello sir, hello friend. My name is Abdul Aziz. Here I will explain less about taxes and alms. Tax is an obligation to pay cash which is determined by the government or other state official that's bidding. When here alms is giving someone to another personal, voluntary and secretly without being limited by a time and amount. As for the tax difference, the fees is a certain time. Hell arms at night time. The second is the tax law must be paid. Here the sunnah which is carried out with reward if there are no problem. As for the abatement of taxes, that is helping the government building infrastructure and public facilities. Here, the excess in giving to charity gets a reward, multiplying wealth and strengthening ties of kinship. That's all I can you. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
My name is Ahmad Al-Pirifai. Sodaka is giving our property to other with the sole intention of achieving the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tax is an obligation to pay cash determined by the government or authorities official that is binding without any specific conference. Difference between courtesy and tax. Courtesy is sunnah, while tax is obligatory. Alam are material and non-material objects. While material tax, alam can be at any time if there is short time and money orders. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, sir. Hello, everybody. Now, I want to explain to all of you about tax and alms. Difference between tax and alms. Taxes can be said to be like zakat, but in the state, because they are mandatory, they are determined by the government, while alms is natural things. It is for a person confession of faith in the Creator. Taxes are made in the form of cash payment, while sedekah is not. Maybe just like that, and then Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The definition of tax in an obligation to pay cash determined by the government or authorized official that is binding without any specific compensation. According to the language, alms comes from the word sidqah, which means true. According to the interpretation of this scholar, a person who has a true confession of faith. As for the advent acts of alms is charity doesn't reduce wealth. Alms removes sin. Alms multiply rewards. The expense tax is financing the state expansion, financing reproductive expenses, to finance to finance expenses that are not self-liquidating and non-reproductive, financing unproductive expenses.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dendi Ardiansyah. Sodakoh is giving our possession to other with the sole intention of achieving the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Payment take to pay payment determined by the government or binding official without any particular imbalance. Difference between charity and tax. charity is sunnah, while tax is obligatory. The object of charity is material and non-material, while the tax is material. Alms can be at any time if the tax is a certain time, and many other.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Diva Sonalisa Fitri. Here I will explain the difference and advantage of taxes and alms. The first I will explain taxes. Tax is one of the means of equal distribution of citizen income and a source of state development funds for the government. So, in the long term, the general public can enjoy the results of science from the development. The advantages of taxes are to advance the development of a country in terms of economy, society, natural resource, agriculture, politics, infrastructure, development, and national defense. Next, sadakah is an activity to set aside and spend wealth in the way of Allah, sincerely without expecting anything in return and solely hoping for His pleasure. As the embodiment of faith, the advantages of having sadaqah. Alms does not have to be in the form of money, and is not quite how much is spent for alms it can be in the form of goods that are usable for other people is in the need and with a smile to others is considered alms, and those we will give charity will get a double reward from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Alright, that's all my explanation. I'm done. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sadaqah is the giving of a Muslim, the other voluntarily and sincerely, without being limited by a certain time on one. All is broader than just zakat and infaq, because all this not only mention or donation will, but all included all deed or good deed. Broadly speaking, the tax function is divided into four, namely the budget function and income redistribution function, the regulation function, and the stability function. Okay, thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, I will explain about the difference in tax and alms, as well as the advantage of each. Tax is a mandatory contribution to the state, owed by an individual or entity that is coercive under the law, with no direct compensation, and is used for state needs for the greatest property of the people. Censor without being limited by a certain time and amount. The advantage of tax is that they are obligated to pay to make the country rich. The advantage of alms is that it does not demand a certain amount and is easily carried out by many people and doesn't have to be in the form of money. It can take a form of an action, for example, a smile. Okay, that's all about tax and alms. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Ridwan. Tax is mandatory contribution to the state that is corpus visit on the law. Used for the purpose of the state for the prophecy of the prophet. Tax benefits to finance all state expenditures such as civil servant salaries, army salaries, payment of government debt, and finance development. Sadaqah is the giving of a Muslim to others, voluntary and sincerely without being limited by a certain time and amount. Sodako is sunnah, but alms al deeds or good deeds. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will explain a little about the differences and advantages of tax and allowance. According to Gazi Inaya, the meaning of tax is an obligation to pay cash determined by the government or other that official that is being withheld any specific reward. An allowance comes from the word sadaqah, which means a right person who likes to give charity is a person who has a true confession of faith. The amount can be very large, so it can be used to improve the country infrastructure. The collection process is guaranteed to be applicable law. The advantages of allowance offers multiple reward, getting intoxication, prefigure yourself, reward double, get rewarded multiply, avoiding distress, gives peace of mind, is less the guaranteed, and frees from the true meaning of the grave. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sedekah is issuing something part wealth or material for an interest, while tax is Islamic teaching. Tax is an obligation to pay cash which is determined by government. The advantage of giving charity as a repellent to reinforcement, fertilizing reward, withstanding calamities and crimes, as well as sustained overpaying tax, make it easier to get public facilities and infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Aini, and at this video I want to describe difference between taxes and alms. Difference between them is taxes are mandatory contributions that must be used, while alms are not, and tax has a certain level, while alms are sincere. Taxes are used at a certain time, while alms can be at any time. And tax aims as a citizen service to the country, while alms aims to expect the pleasure of Allah. Until here, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurhalizatur Rahmah. I will explain about tax and alms. Number 1. What is tax and alms? Tax is mandatory levies from the people for the state. The function of the tax is to finance and expenses. An alms, giving something to someone is in need, just hoping to please Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. In other words, charity is a gift given by a Muslim to another person, voluntarily without a specific amount. Number 1. The difference between the two. Number 1. Difference between the two: if the tax is something that is required to be paid by the people or society, while alms is giving someone without being obligated to expect the pleasure of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. 3. The advantages or benefits of tax and alms. Tax excess tax is able to finance all state expenditures, regulate the inflation rate, and regulate the country's economic growth rate. Alms, the advantages or benefits of alms are as a replant for reinforcement, fertilizing rewards, withstanding calamities and crimes, as well as sentence that is multiplied of by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Well, that's all I can say. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi Shir, hey Al, how are you? Okay, here I will discuss difference between tax and sodakoh. Taxes can be said to be like zakat, but in the state because they are mandatory. They are determined by the government. While sodakoh is a natural thing, it is for a person's confession of faith in the Creator. Taxes are made in the form of cash payments, while sodakoh is not. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Sir. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Putri Amelia. Tax is a levy that must be given to the state by individuals or entities or companies based on the law that will be used for the benefit of the state and the welfare of the general public. Sadaqah is the giving of a Muslim to others voluntarily and sincerely without being limited by a certain time and amount. Alms is broader than just zakat and infak, because alms does not only mean issuing or donating wealth, but alms includes all deeds or good deeds. The benefit of charity to excess tax is to finance all state expenditures such as civil servant salaries, army salaries, payment of government debt, and finance development. The advantage of alms, in addition to being rewarding, alms can also be useful as a repellent to reinforcement and to withstand calamities and crimes for someone who often practice it. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, the difference between tax and the most is tax is a mandatory levy from the people for the state, and this advance is the triggers country economic growth. For example, public facilities and infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals. While critics to practice with the way of Allah, screenly which expecting anything in return, and solely hoping for His pleasure as the truth of one's faith. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, I'm Rizky Saputra. I will explain the difference between tax and alms. Alms come from the word sadaqah, which means right. This means the people who give charity are a form of truth and honesty of his faith in God. It's just that alms has a broader meaning, namely not only material objects that can be donated, it can also be with non-material things. An easy example is that a smile is charity, and while tax is an obligation to pay cash which is determined by the government or authorized official which is binding without any specific compensation. In this case, government provisions are adjusted to the ability of the owner of the property and are used to meet general food needs and to meet financial political demands for the government. This is all I can say. Thanks. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, I will explain about the difference between tax and alms. Tax is a monetary levy that is paid by the people for the state and will be used for the benefit of the government and the general public. Well, alms is spending well in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as evidence of honesty or the truth of honest fact exists in tax and alms. That excess tax amount can be very large. So it can be used to improve the current truth infrastructure. Okay, thank is all I can say. More and less I am sorry. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rois Apandiaraf. I will describe the difference between tax and sedekah. Tax is a mandatory legacy from the people for the state, and sedekah is a voluntary and sincere gift from someone for another person. The difference between tax and sedekah is that tax is an obligation, while alms is given sincerely without coercion and not an obligation. And excess tax is used for state development. The advantage of charity is that it can make other people happy with our gifts. Thanks, sir. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Difference between alms and tax. Alms is the specific amount of property required by a Muslim and given to a class that has a right to receive it under the condition of Shara. Whereas taxes have the sense of obligatory action, usually money that citizens must pay as an obligatory contribution to the state or the government in terms of income, possession, and purchase. Alms is required according to the Quran and As-Sunnah. As for taxes determined by the laws of the country, the motivation for payment of alms is because of faith and aversion to God, while taxes are paid on the basis of state obligations. Benefit of paying alms and taxes. Paying alms can consecrate our property and grant the right of the others. If we obediently pay our taxes, we can help and contribute to national development in our country.
Okay, tax is government revenue of and source of income. Alm is giving something like food, money from people to people. What's different? Tax must pay in a certain of time and certain amount of money to government. Alms you can give any time, any something to other people, like food, money, something else you can give to other people. I think it's enough. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, sir, and good morning, everyone. My name is Teguh Sulaiman. I will tell you for information about taxes, and alms, and what are the advantages of both. According to law number 28 and year 2007, the tax is mandatory contribution to the state which is dealt by an individual or entity that is coercive in nature based on the law, without receiving direct compensation, and is used for state's purpose of all, by not receiving direct compensation and being used for the purpose of the state for the great prosperity of the people. It means that tax is reward from the people to the state which is paid in the form of money as payment for living in this country. For Sodako is the gift of a Muslim to another person voluntarily and sincerely with the aim of spending some of his wealth in the way of Allah. The advantage of paying this tax is to increase the cost of state developments such as infrastructure development, food and clothing funds to the people. And as for the advantage of alms is the most important things, namely getting the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also Allah promises to add or double the will that we have used to earn. I think is now for sir. Thank you sir. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dara Nurafifa Safena. I'm from local D. In my opinion, the difference between alms and taxes is the alms has a broader meaning concerning non-material things. Examples such as the hadith about the virtue of smiling, while taxes are the obligation to pay cash determined by the government or authorized official that are bidding without any specific rewards. The advantage of alms are reflecting rewards, resisting calamities and crimes and sentences are multiplied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the advantage of taxes are, for example, in the development of public transportation, namely the availability of public transportation facility in each region is one benefit of paying taxes, that you can feel the insistence. That's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Kharunisa. Today, I will tell you about alms and tax with the difference and the better of each. The difference between tax and alms they are: first, the law of alms is sunnah, while tax are obligatory. Second, alms can be given in material or non-material, while tax must be given in material. The third or the last is alms can be given in any time and how much, while tax it was determined by the government. I think alms is better than tax cause alms given by heartfelt, so the money or the commodity more blessing and more useful for the receiver. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you Al. Thank you sir. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.